Robbie's about to sit down, so I know it's time to start. All right, Dane Quinn, I believe you have our invitation as well.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Just love sitting at this front table. I was thinking about the 4th of July and found this. If everybody bow their head, please. Lord, thank you for the courage and dedication of all the men and women who have served their nation in uniform. Remind us that the freedom we so often take for granted today was purchased at enormous cost, that our own lives are ransomed by men and women who laid down their own lives, limbs, health, and fortunes upon the altar of freedom. That many of these guardians still endure wounds to the soul which we cannot comprehend. And that we enjoy today the company of people who risked all so that we and our loved ones might live in peace and safety. Help us to remember their service and learn from their example. Amen. The pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And of the things we think, say, and do, is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned?
All right, Matthew, you got a Sergeant at Arms report for us.
Good morning, everyone. We've got 41 Rotarians here today, not counting the 4 that are visiting, so that's 45. Today we have Cookie Billings from the Airport Club visiting.
Matthew, I know you haven't been doing this job too long, but it's actually Her Royal Highness Cookie. When you address Cookie, you have to use the proper time.
We have Ray Pfeiffer from the Rotary E Club. Yep.
Yay, Ray!
Oh, excuse me. I just saw Ray Pfeiffer.
His Royal Highness.
We have Deborah Friedman from Summit. And Zach Engler from Summit as well. We have a few guests. We'll start with Dan.
Yes, I'll introduce my guest. Judy has joined this morning, and so has Katie.
Mr. Plomer has some guests.
Privileged to have my paralegals with me, Tammy Durham and Ashley Hall. They make it possible for me to actually do what I guess people call work.
Jonathan Smith has a guest this morning too.
My friend and fellow worker Stephen Boatman, who makes Jonathan Smith look really good.
All right, thank you. Gail, anybody get any older?
No, we don't have any aging. But we do have a partner birthday today. George Wigglesworth is going to celebrate his birthday as his husband. Member anniversaries, July the 12th, Guy Redondo will be celebrating 8 years in Indian City Rotary. And Thomas and Julie Nelson will be celebrating their wedding anniversary on the 12th.
Right.
And,
Health and wellness?
on the health and wellness side, Mark Reynolds' grandfather passed away last week, I believe, and the funeral was in Paducah, Kentucky this past week.
I think Mark's here this morning. Good to see you, Mark. All right, so I think we have time to play around with win my raffle ticket. So if you bought a raffle ticket this morning, pull it out. See if you can win some more tickets. All right, last 3, 836. 836. Anybody?
What's the number again?
836 is your last 3. Watch it be honest. Watch me the tickets we're trying to win.
Oh, there it is, there it is, there it is.
No, that's not.
No.
Everybody has 836.
There's a good chance they're
right. 836.
You have it. All right, Cookie.
She actually has all the tickets.
Cookie, stand up for me. You haven't You haven't been able to play this game before.
No,
You gotta go around and play some gallery.
Okay.
This is actually a really easy trivia game. Almost anybody in the audience is going to know the answer to all three of these questions.
Oh
Okay,
my
so
God, okay.
just do the best you can. All right, we're gonna start out with an easy. What is Hillary Clinton's middle name?
Robin.
All right, good. Give her a hand. She's doing one thing. Okay.
Oh, no, I'm making
All right, now.
I had to call the audience.
Now, since we're bipartisan here,
Yeah,
what is Donald Trump's middle name?
I don't even know. I have no idea.
Mark.
What?
You.
Call the audience?
All right.
It probably was something ugly if he said it, I don't know.
All right, you're not going to get that one right. Does anybody know? Anybody?
James.
John, right? John.
Lord, nobody
All
knew
right.
that.
And the easiest question of all.
Uh-huh.
What team did Miami's Dwayne Wade sign as a free agent with last night?
Bulls.
The Warriors.
I think she might have had a little help. Chicago Bulls. All right, you want two more tickets. Good job. All right.
No, he just said bulls.
Chicago Bulls, that's the right answer. All right, good job. All right, so we have any announcements? I know Lisa and Mary have been working on a couple of projects for us. Mary, can you give us an update? I know the emails went out. Do you have anything to add to that? I caught her with a mouthful with you. Sorry about that, Mary.
Sorry, excuse me. Okay, so did everybody get the sign up genius that Lisa sent?
Yes.
Yes? Did you sign up, please? This is really important. And then I'm gonna send up another one. Wanna make sure that you guys are gonna go to the ball game. Yes?
Yes.
Ball game?
Yes.
August the
Big
7th?
deal, big deal.
Yes.
Yeah, that's actually a huge deal, guys.
That's huge.
For that Monday project, the Rush project, the Rotary International President's going to be present, as well as at the baseball game. It is a Gold Club requirement that we get one family, at least one family, out to the baseball game. So please make sure you get signed up for that. I think it's going to be a great night. We also, don't forget, we have Governor Spillman. He will be in attendance at the meeting next week, so we definitely want to be well attended. I'll send out an email in a bit. And Ralph, no speaker next week, okay? They've told me that 8 million times. Please do not double book the district governor.
I heard it the first time.
All right, we have one catch-up award to do here. Tom Phoenix, you got perfect attendance this year, so we have a plaque for you. All right, any other announcements from the floor? Anything we're forgetting? All right, Buster, we got some happy dollars.
Yes, we do. I know it. You know, who saw Tom and Mike's picture in the paper? Mike, I'm so sorry.
Well, I've got a happy dollar. I would pay a lot more than a happy dollar for that.
If you were at that meeting in context, you understood the face, but if you saw it in the picture, you thought
It was not
guy was homeless. But it was a wonderful thing. It was wonderful.
Yeah, it was. It's great.
Who sent that picture?
I did, but they cut it up. They cut it off right here. He was holding the award.
Tell me that's not all. Come on.
All right, Buster, I got a happy five from the Green Valley Gators, which will be going for a city meet championship this weekend. And we did beat Friendly, by the way, for those that didn't see that before. Did you hear that, Judge Hassel?
What's that now?
Wait. Just checking.
Chip, well, we haven't had a Wilder update in a while. He is safely
Since
back.
last week, but
Yeah. That's Wilder. Wilder is quote unquote stuck in a town in northwest Washington on the sound of there's somewhere called Forks. And I said, Forks? And Forks. And we went back and forth about 10 times. Evidently, it's a population of 3,500 and they have no entertainment. But they do have a massive forest, and that's where he and his friends are hanging out this week. But he is thoroughly, he said, I thought when it said going to Washington State, we would at least be in Seattle.
He is in forestry, he realized. Not in urban planning. It's a slow news day. Well, Grandpappy Lewis, he had this saying that reminded me of Bobby Christensen a little bit. He said, "I never run with scissors." He said, actually, those last two words are unnecessary.
All right, Mike, you got a special program for us this morning.
Special presentation. All right, I would want to ask Katie Quinn to come forward, and her dad and mom, if you would come forward as well. Let me see. We know it is always a tremendous day in Rotary whenever we're able to present a new Paul Harris Fellow. And today it's special in that one of our Rotarians is honoring his daughter. Dan is honoring Katie with a Paul Harris Fellow. And the presentation of the Paul Harris Fellow is recognition of Rotary's way of expressing its appreciation for substantial contribution to its humanitarian and educational programs. And I think most of you know that it is named for Paul Harris Fellow. Paul Harris, who is a founder of Rotary International back in 1905. And Rotarians often designate a Paul Harris Fellow as a tribute to a person whose life demonstrates a shared purpose with the objectives of our Rotary Foundation. And today we have the honor and pleasure of recognizing Katie Quinn as she becomes a Paul Harris Fellow. Katie was designated to receive this recognition by her dad, Dan Quinn. A world of peace and goodwill will come closer to reality today as you become a Paul Harris Fellow. It is because of gifts like the one made in your honor that our Rotary Foundation is able to carry out an array of programs, and those programs include improved living conditions, increased food production, better education, as well as the hopes for peace throughout the world. And as a personal note, obviously with Children of Vietnam, those dollars that come back to us are from our Rotary Foundation are used for something that is near and dear to your family as well. So a contribution to the Rotary Foundation is an investment in the idea of goodwill, peace, and understanding. So it gives me great pleasure to present you the two emblems, one of which is the certificate, and I'm going to read this. And this is your full name, but I'll just say Katie Quinn is hereby named a Paul Harris Fellow in appreciation of tangible and significant assistance given for furtherance of better understanding and friendly relations among peoples of the world. That is for you, and I'm going to ask your dad if he would pin you with your Paul Harris Fellow pen. You're going to be on your own. I will say that I would have done this for both of my girls here, but Judy was a Paul Harris Fellow about 10 years before I was. All right. And a further recognition today, which I think is really special,
Dan gets his +2 tall hair spell, so I'm gonna ask Katie to pin her dad.
Katie, turn around, smile. Just FYI.
Okay, let's congratulate our newest
All right, what a cool moment. Chip, you want to introduce our speaker?
Certainly. Good morning, Gate City Rotary. I'm so pleased to have a friend of mine, a longtime friend, Debbie Childers, who has agreed to speak to us this morning and tell us a little bit about Dare to Share. You know, is it harder to introduce someone that you've never met or someone you've known for half your life? And that's the case with Debbie. We go back many years, and in fact, Debbie lived with my wife when they were right out of college here in Greensboro. Debbie has got her Bachelor's of Arts in History from Duke University and a Master's in Counseling from UNCG. She has taught in the public, the private, and nonprofit sectors. And as a little footnote, when I met her, she was teaching at Grimsley, and she took the debate team, she coached the debate team and took them to the state championship and won. So special distinction for Debbie. Debbie has a passion for people and a generosity that goes far and wide. And she's going to tell us a little bit about a program she's involved with here in Greensboro that it's local roots, locally grown, and meets the needs, very specific needs of people here in Greensboro. So with that, let me introduce Debbie and ask you to tell us a little bit about Dare to Share.
Well, thank you so much for inviting me to come, Chip. It's been a long time since I've stood in front of a group of Rotarians. But when I did teach at Grimsley High School, they did not have the money for a speech and debate club, and it was actually another Rotary club that underwrote that speech and debate team for 2 years. So I've always been very impressed with Rotary clubs since then and the impact that you can make in a community. So I want to also mention that I'm married to Mark and I have 5 kids. And that has a lot to do with why I started Dare to Share. And I don't know if any of you can identify with the tension that sometimes we feel living in a community that's really diverse. And I know when I taught in the public schools, what I was faced with day after day was injustice. There's just a lot of injustice in our community. Kids that have a lot and kids that have nothing. Kids that are whole and have a future ahead of them, and kids who seem like their future was snatched at a young age. Adults and children who have experienced injustice and brokenness and loss. And I know as a parent, I really want my kids to grow up engaging with their community. But the tension I feel is that I live in a comfortable place. I live in a safe neighborhood. I protect my kids from brokenness. And so how can I create channels of connection for my children where they are willing to move towards brokenness and use their resources to bless others? So a couple of years ago, in 2011, I was on a plane coming back from Denver, and I read a book called 7 by Jen Hatmaker, and it really challenged me about how do I use my resources. Now, I don't know if you all grew up in the era and ever heard this saying, you need to eat all the food on your plate, children are starving in Africa. Okay, my parents said that, and what in the world does that mean? How does me eating the food on my plate help that starving child in Africa? And let's just say for a moment that I was really philanthropic and I would have shared my food with the kids in Africa. How would I? It's a ridiculous saying, but there's truth in it. Children are starving in Africa. The problem is there's no channel for me sharing my food. Well, Dare to Share is about creating a channel for sharing. And Dare to Share is, in its essence, a winter clothing giveaway. It takes place at the end of October, and it's specifically designated to help homeless and refugees. It's a one-day event that takes 10 months of planning because we collect a huge amount of donations and then give them away. Winter clothing, shoes, winter coats, accessories like gloves, hats, and winter blankets. And you can imagine to collect that amount of material takes a lot of time, it takes a lot of community effort, and we've been really blessed by having businesses, schools, neighborhoods, apartment complexes, individuals make donations. So this is gently used clothing that we then give away. So Dare to Share was birthed out of a vision for connection, connecting many people's abundance of clothing with other people's need for clothing. But even deeper for me is that desire to connect people from diverse socioeconomic backgrounds with one another. So Dare to Share provides clothing, but it also creates a bridge of connection that I really believe furthers cultural integration and makes our community a much stronger place. So you may ask, many people have asked, there's a lot of needs in Greensboro. Why clothes? And I will tell you that clothing does not trump food, housing, education, but clothing is something that we all have in abundance, and it is an essential. Every year I purge my closet, my husband's closet, my kids' closets. I give away bags of clothing, and I still have more than enough. So clothing, I believe, for most of us is a relatively easy resource for us to share if we're given the right channel. Another question is why refugees and homeless? I was reading, a little light reading, the 2014 census that 500,000 people basically live in Guilford County. We have a poverty rate of 17.8%. So roughly 1 in 5 live below the poverty level, and poverty is it's very multifaceted. But I would suggest that the homeless and the refugees that come to our community are probably the most vulnerable. Most of you know our homeless neighbors carry their belongings with them. They carry their clothes with them. So that means at the end of every season, they have to exchange one set of seasonal clothes for another set of seasonal clothes. They can't carry a winter coat with them all year long, but they're desperately going to need a winter coat to make it through winter on the streets. For refugees, most of them arrive in Greensboro with the clothes on their back. Most of them come from a country where they've never experienced winter. There are various resettlement agencies in the Triad, and through these resettlement agencies, they will get 3 months of rent, and they will get assistance, and during that 3 months, they're expected to establish Social Security, get a driver's license, make doctor's appointments, deal with medical issues, enroll in English classes, set up bank accounts, and then most importantly, find a job. So their resources are severely limited and do not really include the surplus to purchase clothes. And many of these refugees come to us in the summer months. So when winter approaches, this is their first winter. So Dare to Share provides winter clothes to children and adult refugees who truly cannot afford them and who are ill prepared for winter. So I want to tell you a little bit about the event. How does it work? So this is a picture of participants lining up this last year. We started Dare to Share in 2012. On the day of the event, we work out of a church downtown that's located on Church Street, and we invite people to come and shop from 8 o'clock in the morning till 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Every year, people start gathering much earlier than 8 o'clock in the morning, and this year, a group of homeless friends got there at 5 a.m. because they knew that they wanted the first look at winter coats. By the time we started, there were several hundred people lined up on Church Street. And so this is a massive volunteer undertaking. And we really do not want this just to be a, hey, come, get your clothes and leave. We really want to extend kindness and treat every person with dignity and respect. So that involves a lot of people out here talking, people greeting our guests as they come in, and we do call them guests. When they come in, they go to a reception area, they get a hot drink, they get breakfast items, and they get instructions on how to shop. So we have one local business that donated a lot of really large bags, and each participant receives a large bag, and in groups of 100, they're taken out on the shopping floor, and they can fill their large bag. They can get one winter coat, one winter blanket, and 2 pairs of shoes. And we have lots of volunteers to help them, to show them what they're looking for, to hold their babies while they shop. We have a children's area where kids can go and pick out books for themselves, and volunteers that will interact with them, more volunteers that will carry their bags. So it's very, very people intensive. And to our volunteers, we really try to emphasize, this is not a shopping assembly line. This is a place of caring and connection. So the impact, last year was the first year we started keeping statistics, and last year we had approximately 800 people come from 25 countries. I cannot even tell you what an amazing assembly of people this was, the diversity. Most significantly, we were able to collect and then give away 1,175 winter coats. And one of the things I'm very thankful for with Dare to Share is that we have been able to meet our target population. There's a lot of poverty, but we're really trying to target these 2 particular groups. We have an advertising budget of about $80. What we do is we photocopy flyers, and then we go to Urban Ministry, Interactive Resource Center, Church Under the Bridge. We go to Church World Services, Center for New North Carolinians, tutoring places. We just really blitz those places, and then the community takes over. We hand these out in English and in Spanish, but people will show up with flyers that have been translated in Arabic and Farsi. So I really love how the community has started to own this. Another impact that I've seen is this ripple effect of generosity. We actually have refugees that have received clothing that then come back and volunteer the next year and bring more refugees. And we've really, because I believe empowerment is so important, we really stress to people, if you come and volunteer, you can shop first because you have really contributed. Last year we had a homeless woman that came, and she came with a thin coat and she left with a heavy coat. She stood in line to give our front door volunteer her thin coat to say she went to help somebody else. I thought that was remarkable. But I just want to share with you, these are big picture statistics, but even more important than the big picture are the small picture stories. That building bridges relational connection is so important. And often the effect of Dare to Share goes way beyond that event. So 2 years ago, we had an Iraqi family that had just resettled in Greensboro. And there were 2 brothers that came. They came at the end. Most of our items were gone. We couldn't really provide anything that they needed. But a couple of our volunteers engaged them in conversation and kind of found out they were a family of 8. And they were in a place of high need. And so these volunteers took it upon themselves to get their phone number. They sent out emails to some different people, were able to collect furniture, some additional clothing, and this Iraqi family ended up receiving not only clothing, but furniture and groceries, and then this amazing friendships that came out of this. And the mom told me last fall, she said, you know, in Iraq, we were told that Americans are evil, but that is a lie. Americans are very kind. So that was that family is really becoming more integrated in the Greensboro community because they've had these relationships. But my favorite story happened in 2012. It was our first year, And there was a woman on the shopping floor that I noticed she could not speak English, which is often the case. She could only speak French. We happened to have a volunteer that could speak French. And so we connected with her. She had just arrived 3 weeks earlier. She was a widow. She had 4 children. And she had walked to get to Dare to Share. And we didn't have anything for her. We didn't have the shoes for her 4 kids. But these 2 volunteers took her name, took her phone number. Within 2 weeks, they purchased shoes. They'd gone to visit the family. And this simple act of kindness began a relationship between the families of these 2 volunteers and this particular Congolese family. One of the volunteers' husbands worked at a local private school. He was able to put together scholarship money so 3 of her 4 children could come to this private school. And the oldest just walked across the stage and graduated this last May and is going to a local university. Amazing. And this year, the mom was driving other Congolese refugees to Dare to Share to receive clothing. So I really believe that generosity gives rise to more generosity. And I love the spirit of Dare to Share and how it seems like there is a very significant ripple effect. So these stories aren't statistics, they're just examples of the power of sharing, and they illustrate that beyond the huge logistics and planning, Dare to Share's greatest success is in creating relational connection. So, and this is just a picture of being greeted at the front door going in, one of our volunteers. So how can Gate City Rotary participate? Dare to Share is a huge community effort. And I just want to say it's one of many community efforts. There are so many amazing philanthropic efforts in Greensboro. I love our community. I grew up in Denver, I moved to Birmingham for a while, but I love Greensboro because I think the people here have a real can-do attitude and truly a spirit of generosity. So I just want to acknowledge there's a lot of ways to give and share. This is one channel of resource, or one channel of sharing. But the greatest need is for clothing. And I think almost everybody, no matter what nonprofits you're involved in, can share clothing. 30 minutes could yield a bag of clothes from your closet that would have a huge impact on another individual's life. Blankets, that's something that we need, especially for our homeless population. So individuals can clean out their closet, that's one thing you can do. A second thing is, Chip and I have talked about, your club could decide, hey, in September we're going to do a clothing drive. And we're going to bring bags of clothing, or we're going to focus on raising winter coats, or on getting winter blankets. But that's one of our biggest sources of clothing is clubs and businesses that have decided to do clothing drives. So the second thing that we're soliciting is financial donations, because we've been told by resettlement agencies that winter coats is, it's the big enchilada. That's what everybody needs more than anything. And most of us don't buy a new winter coat every year. So I'm not giving away my winter coats every year. So last year, we raised $3,500 and we started a shopping campaign of buying winter coats in the off-season. And we have a team of about 10 people that do this. And so this year, we're trying to raise that money again. So $100 usually will buy 10 coats. $500, 50 coats. Last week I shopped, I got 15 coats for $100. So we're really committed to trying to be frugal and take advantage of off-season sales. Being able to purchase 1,175 coats last year was a huge blessing, and we're hoping to do that again this year. So you can give clothing, you can give money. The third thing is you can volunteer. We're collecting clothes right now, but the last week in October, every single day we are sorting and hanging clothes. And one of the things I've loved about this is how it's brought the community together. We have families that come. We had an entire 8th grade class from a local school come and sort clothes one day. And then my favorite thing is we have families. We have little 3-year-olds that will sort socks from hats and put them together. So it's a real opportunity to do something that spreads that spirit of philanthropy and generosity. And then all of this culminates on October 29th, when we invite our guests, and we usually need 80 to 100 volunteers to make that happen. So there's a website there, and I left my handouts, but I can give those to Chip. But this website has a link, and it gives more information, and then I can give you my phone number, and I would be so happy to help you all participate in this in any way you can. I just want to thank you so much for the opportunity to talk, and I wanted to see if anybody had any questions.
Talk a little bit about the organization and the logistics and that final push, what it takes to bring this.
Yeah, we have a team of, I guess it's about a team of 10 to 12 women, and we start meeting in January. We take a little bit of a break. We're pretty exhausted after the end of October, but we start meeting in January and just basically making a list of where are we going to go, who are we going to approach. We put things on Facebook. Most of our food that we get, the grocery stores donate. So we have a really small budget. And so a lot of this is just rolling up our sleeves and using the connections we have. And I like to say everybody has a sphere of influence. Everybody has people that they interact with. So each of us try to use our sphere of influence just to say, oh, I live in Lincoln Green, I'll ask people there. Or, I belong to a homeschool organization. I will ask people there. And it is really amazing. It's such a grassroots effort. It is amazing that now I have people that will come up to me at the Y in the morning and say, I have a bag of clothes in the cart. Can I give them to you? Which is wonderful. People are really thinking about that.
Debbie, what's your drop-off point? Where is it?
We are the drop-off point. We pick up. That's what we do. So because we are trying to make this as easy as possible for people, one of the advantages of taking to a local place is that you can just drop it off. You've cleaned your closet and you can get rid of it. But we will come and pick up clothes. There's a drop-off point at 414 Church Street, but that's not usually convenient for people. So you can contact me. Can I give you those handouts, Nick? Okay. And so you can contact me and I'm happy to pick up clothes. If you all were going to do a clothing drive, then probably what I would do for the month of September, I'd just come here on Thursday mornings and pick them up. Okay.
Are you a 501c3?
We are. So we've got, thank you for asking that question. We have tax deduction forms that we can also provide. Okay. We actually work through a church, Christ Church, Greensboro, but it is a community effort. Yes?
Has this been rolled out to any other churches? Has there been an effort to try to get other churches involved?
Oh, yes. I mean,
any success?
Yes. Some. Really, we've had more success from clubs like Girl Scout troops. And we've had some of our business partners have been off and running. North State Communications did a clothing drive. Cooper Electric, Wrangler always donates a lot. So, but we always have about 5 or 6 churches. The thing about churches is a lot of them they're very generous. A lot of them have their own projects that they're working on. So it really depends, but we really try to network because part of the vision is bringing people together in a united effort to care.
I don't know if I missed it, but what's your preferred way to receive money? Is there like a button we can click on online somewhere, or is it just a mail-in letter?
Wow, that's a great idea. We're a low-tech, low-budget operation. Thank you. You can make the checks out to Christ Church Greensboro. They've got a fund that they let us do, and that enables us to give you that 501c tax deduction form.
Okay.
You can.
And I can forward that by email.
Okay, Chip's going to forward that to you. Okay, I'm just going to give you a mailing address, and you can send in the check. It would just be really important to put Dare to Share on the check. Okay. Any other questions?
All right, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Debbie, as a thank you. We're going to donate a book in your name to Code Elementary.
Great.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, we have one more duty for you. If you could draw the winning raffle
Oh,
ticket.
really?
It's like 50 cents on the line here.
Okay. 9, last 3 digits, 873.
Oh.
873. All right, Gate City. Good meeting. Have a good one.